Hello, everybody, and welcome to, WarCrafters for January 19th, 2025. It is the second season of our illustrious show. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and along with the sentient AI from the future, that's the visualizer right there. If you're watching the VOD or the Twitch stream live or YouTube live. The VODs are over on Twitch and YouTube. Maybe it's working. We'll see. We talk about gaming news in WarCrafters. We talk about 5 articles. There's a whole lot more over at ohmTown, so go over there and become a citizen. I don't think you'll regret it. There's also podcasts and 1,700 maybe 1,800 episodes now over on YouTube. We're kind of chugging quite a bit. So, all right, we're going to talk about disavowed. TikTok time is up, and Marvel snapped as well. Steampunk RPG Sovereign Syndicate. This VR game is haunted, and pricing Grand Theft Auto 6. I cannot believe that somebody's arguing for this as a positive, but hey. Based on the weather, hell has frozen over, so I'm not surprised anybody sees a lot of this as positive. Let's get going. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmTown citizens.
And the visualizer is working. Yay! So I'm trying to find somebody that can construct the visualizer in the way that I need it done. And I've had people show interest, but they don't have the chops to do it. So we'll see. But I'm changing the visualizer in 2025 so that it more perfectly represents. Yeah. The sentient AI. So I am about to publish the weekend edition of the Saturday shows as a podcast and as podcasts, I should say, because the way that it works is on Saturday we have the Continuity Report, Wanted, and RealityHacker in reverse order. And then they get turned into a podcast. Each one of those. Dun, dun, dun. So we have 6 different podcasts, 3 on Sunday and 3 on Saturday. And then Monday through Friday is Non Sequitur News. But those 3 on each day become the weekend editions of Non Sequitur News. So you'll always get them, no matter what. You'll always get all of the articles. But you don't have to want to sit through an hour and a half plus of Non Sequitur News on the weekends. You can subscribe to just whatever show you're interested in. Makes sense? Anyway, thanks for being co-host, Sentient AI. You ready to get into these articles?
I am.
The first one... Hold on a second. The first one is over in WarCrafters, which is the name of this show, but that's not where all of the articles come from. They may, but they don't always. Avowed has mysteriously disappeared from Steam player libraries. I haven't heard anything about this since, so I don't know if it's back because this is a weekly show. It appears that this is within the last couple of days. So
well, it's last night, unless it was an update. So, and
right.
it's indicative, right, of these digital purchases, right, that you've talked about in ohmTown.
Well, because they're not purchases. They're basically agreements to consume. You're not purchasing anything. You're essentially subscribing to a arguably perpetual license, and at any time the rights holder can revoke said. And I'm kind of a victim of that already because I purchased Ticket to Ride, and I've purchased other games. Yeah, Stop Killing Games. I've purchased several games that have just kind of disappeared, right? And The Crew is one of them that kind of set a fire to, oh, pardon me, became a firebrand. Wait, I shouldn't be talking about fires. So became
Made a
the
lot of
noise. Yeah.
noise.
Yeah. Regarding the stop killing games kind of a thing. But you can have your game yeeted from your library at any given time. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. MD?
Oh, that's interesting.
MD, but then it's abbreviated down there, Armagan. But Armagunadin is their name over at Game Rant. And Avowed has mysteriously disappeared from the libraries of several players who owned the game on Steam, and fans are worried that this may indicate a possible delay. In another ominous development, Avowed's Steam Community Hub has also gone dark. It is.
That's interesting.
I would argue that it is 2025's most anticipated. It's not one of 2025's, but it is 2025's most anticipated title, and is prepped to be one of the year's first major releases. The game was earlier penciled in for fall of 2024, but was delayed to February of 2025 after the developer stated that they wanted more time to publish or polish Avowed. And so I titled this segment Disavowed, because Avowed has disappeared.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know if that's artwork up at the top or just a graphic, but I find that interesting if it's
Pretty
actually from the
telling.
game, right? Because it looks like something's like slipping away.
I believe it is from the game. So it says in a post on Reddit, a username GAZVD. I don't know if it's Gazid. I don't know. But the capital GA makes me think Georgia or something. Shared that the game is no longer visible in their Steam library, and several others have corroborated the issue. Despite missing from their libraries, Avowed's Steam store page shows that they indeed own the game. So far, the issue only appears to affect Steam users, as players who purchase it on Xbox are still able to see the Avowed game in their collection. It says, with just a few days to go before Avowed's release, fans are understandably getting paranoid of the delay. I don't have Steam running right now, so I'm not gonna log it. I'm not gonna
But
look it
it
up.
is interesting that it, at least on Xbox, shows that they purchased it. I don't know if that's some quirk for that
It
platform.
it shows up as being purchased in Steam as well. It just doesn't show up in the library, which is, it's a weird dynamic, because I'll have a game downloaded and in my library, and it'll still tell me that I can play it or install it from the Steam page. It's like it doesn't always sync up properly. But either way, it shows it as being purchased, but you can't click on it. And it's disappeared from the library itself. This happens to me when I'm beta testing something, and they yank the beta code, the testing code.
Like maybe there's some technical issue or something they need to fix.
Yeah, and so they're pulling everything off, and they're going to push a new one, and you still have the right, so it will automatically get put into your library if you have automatic updates still in place for Avowed. So we'll see. I'm really interested in this game. I think that it has an interesting dynamic to it, but I don't know if it's going to be my forever game. I don't know. I'm getting more into this cottagecore kind of a thing. I'm kind of a chill gamer. I don't like the frenetic pace anymore. And, I used to be a first person shooter kind of a game, harkening way back. But now I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm starting to dig. This is really weird. I'm really starting to dig like a chill, peaceful,
like a cozy game.
Cozy not Warcraft. I was gonna say Warcraft, but Minecraft game. So anyway, so we'll watch Avowed, see what happens. I'll probably end up buying it, but playing it for 2 hours. Is everything okay? Let's keep going.
Yeah, the critters in hometown are acting a little amiss.
Oh, and y'all might get to meet the critters here in short order. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm waiting for an update. Well, anyway, the next article is over on the WarCrafters channel as well. Marvel Snap has also been banned alongside TikTok and several other applications. Marvel Snap has been banned in the United States because with TikTok, the company in charge pulled access to Snap. So piss off a lot of people. The hit game was pulled from the mobile app stores due to the same legislation enacting a stateside ban on TikTok.
I mean, I
TikTok.
know TikTok obviously has a gazillion users, but I find it fascinating because we kept hearing TikTok, TikTok, and I believe this is the first time we heard that Marvel Snap would even be impacted.
So if you're in the United States right now, you'll actually see a notice when you do a search for Marvel Snap or TikTok that that and other games or applications have been removed from access. Dominic Bazjik, I think it's Bazjik, put the article together over at GameRant.com, and it says as of January 19th, the new law went into effect. It says Second Dinner suggested that its game will relaunch in the U.S. ASAP, while it's developed in or by California-based Second Dinner. The hit mobile game is published by Newverse, a subsidiary of TikTok owner ByteDance, and so ByteDance is bound by the same rule. You have to divest to a U.S. company. I don't know how that works. Now, I know how it works in other countries because I've gone through this process where if you want to launch a product or a service in some other country, you have to have a domestic partner that manages everything, that runs everything. And while you can steer the partner, they have to be a U.S. company. So on January 19th, a law called Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act and designated HR 7521 or HR Puff and Stuff went into effect. This piece of
I
legislation,
was trying to
Alice,
see if there was an abbreviation that it made, and it looks like it's like PAFACA or something.
yeah, people are getting really puffacked. So it went into effect on January 19th. A lot of people knew that it was coming. You can actually view TikTok online, but you can't access the app. You can't download the app. You can't install it, et cetera, unless you sideload it or whatever. Anyway, because incoming administration is right around the corner, i.e., the 20th. The outgoing administration said punt, and they'll let it fall on the shoulders of the new administration, which I suspect will probably go, oh, that's a lot of money you're showing me. Okay. Yeah, sure, we'll let you stay. But that's just me.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, apparently it's coming back online, or at least TikTok. I don't know about Marvel Snap yet.
If TikTok comes back online, Marvel Snap will be online. Because if Marvel Snap comes online, that's a lower ranking risk than what they are claiming. And they being a contingent of wingnuts that think that there's anything different between what's happening there versus here. It's coming here. Anyway, it says we're actively working on getting the game up as soon as possible, and we'll update you once we have more to share. But I think this is a slippery slope towards an ideological bent that is akin to what goes on in China and other countries that have that same mandate that to do business, you have to have a domestic partner. I've grown up my entire life without that mandate in place. If it's ever been in existence, I don't know. Nobody's ever told me. It's definitely not taught in business school that back in the 40s or in the 20s you had to have a domestic partner, but globalizing and globalization was not a matter of course in the current vein. Now, we all know that globalism existed through countries invading and taking over, but business is a different animal. So that's a longer talk, a longer thing, and well outside the bounds of WarCrafters. So come back and talk when Non Sequitur News is running.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that the developer didn't know about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I found it very interesting as well. Essentially, as soon as ByteDance was told that they can't do business in the United States without a domestic partner, they pulled every asset that they had, where they were the ones that were the target of this policy. But ByteDance is all over the place. So I'm really boggled by why Marvel Snap and TikTok in particular are the only two that are really the focal point of this.
Well, I mean, maybe those are the most used in the US. I don't know, but you're right. I mean, there are multiple things that are affected.
Yeah. And I've said it before. Everybody's worried about Big Brother watching you, but Little Sister is peeking in on you to a much greater degree, and nobody really cares. But hey, go and look up what uh, go look up what everybody else is looking up, and you'll find out what's going on. Anyway, let's keep on moving. And yeah, if you think that there are things that are laggy, like me, it's because I'm doing a job on the side here, and it's slowing down possibly my video, but not. It may not actually show up for everybody. Anyway, so thanks for coming. Anyway, if you want all of today's show notes, and you are over in the Twitch chat, you can get the show notes. They're already in the show notes for the streams over on YouTube. So the live streams already have them embedded, and so you can actually look at the show notes and follow the links. But if you want WarCrafters show notes, you just type in bang WC, and Omatron will spit out all the articles that we're going to be talking about. And we're already halfway through the show, so... This next article is over on WarCrafters as well. Disco Elysium-inspired steampunk RPG Sovereign Syndicate is getting a director's cut. In 2021, less than 2 years after its release, Disco Elysium received a Final Cut update, as well as adding 4 quests, 2 songs, and some additional art and animation. The company kind of went through some turmoil, the creators of Disco Elysium, some HR-related issues, but Sovereign Syndicate, a steampunk CRPG or computer role-playing game quietly released a year ago, is planning something similar. Sovereign Syndicate is set in a version of Victorian London where creatures from mythology walk the streets and steam-powered airships fly overhead. It has you play as multiple protagonists with multiple mysteries to solve. So the article says that this is Disco Elysium inspired. So Jody McGregor put the article together. It's over at pcgamer.com. And again, the deck statement says Sovereign Syndicate's director's cut will be a free upgrade. So go get it now. Maybe the price will go up after this. Who knows? Sometimes that happens. Maybe they're on sale sometimes. Again, I don't have Steam open, so has this little image capture here has that same style as Disco Elysium, except that Disco Elysium is almost isometric, and this is just straight on a still. I don't know what the game actually looks like. So in celebration of Sovereign Syndicate's 1-year anniversary, developer Crimson Herring, Red Herring? Crimson Herring?
Oh, yeah. Didn't even pick up on that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is. So they explained that the studio is currently working on a fully voiced director's cut, which will also have the same new quality of life options and additional comic panels for the action sequences. Those scenes, which play out in sequential art, double as Sovereign Syndicate's combat system, though they use the same skill system as the rest of the game, which is based on tarot cards rather than dice. Interesting style of play there. It has you play as multiple protagonists with multiple mysteries to solve, like finding the identity of the courtesan killer and tracking down missing orphans, each of the 3 main characters has skills that interject into the stream of narration and dialogue, and that's where it most resembles Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium, for me, is the standout game that I watched other people play, and I absolutely loved the storyline, the style of gameplay, etc. It's not my style of game, but I can still appreciate it. Um, I'll have to go and check out if people are playing this and check it out online, like a
Well,
YouTube.
yeah, it seems like it's like a sneaker release.
Yeah, it's flying under the radar, and I think people should go and check it out. It says here elsewhere in the post they mentioned working on localizations as well, so Turkish, Spanish, Brazilian, Portuguese, to come, and possibly more, as well as console ports, with the intention to bring the game to Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch platforms in 2025. But guess what? Nintendo Switch has a new platform, Nintendo Switch 2,
That's
coming
right.
in April.
Are you a fan of director's cuts?
I'm a fan of any augmentation to the core without charging, or at least making it so that if somebody wants to facilitate like a donation or something like that, they can do that. But it's up to them. If they feel that it's worth charging more for, then so be it. And it's up to each consumer to decide if they. But yeah, this particular director's cut where they add voice to the entirety of the story, they should charge for that, like as a DLC. But I totally appreciate that they're doing it for free, because they may have made the promise prior to the game's release that it was going to have voiceover. But doing it later is kind of like the No Man's Sky of game development now. You kind of wet the bed at one point, but then you slowly raise your performance,
Yeah,
pick up
so
your
much
game.
so that you become highly rated, right?
Yeah. Yep. Extremely well liked. I honestly, I don't know how they're doing it. They must be powered by Bitcoin or something. It's phenomenal. All right, let's keep on going though. This next article is over in WarCrafters as well. There's a VR game all the kids are playing. All the youths. Did you just say ute? So there's a VR game that all the kids are playing, and they're convinced that it's haunted. There's a game that you've likely never heard of, yet it's by far one of the most popular VR games ever made. What is ostensibly a simple game of multiplayer tag for pre-adolescent children is also, apparently the author has recently discovered, a wild hotbed of ludicrous in-universe conspiracies, fueling a genuine belief among its users, its players, that it's haunted. And it's Gorilla Tag. So we don't see the articles prior to the show, so we only get the headline and the snippet, and it piqued my curiosity to the point where I decided to bring it into this show. So it's a free MetaQuest VR game called Gorilla Tag. Is a simple idea buried beneath extraordinary conspiracy theories. John Walker over at Kotaku put the article together, and it's an odd game, but it's VR and it's fast-paced. And
Do you think that's part of why it led to this?
I have no idea. They say that a genuine belief among its players that the game is somehow haunted. One of the strangest games they've encountered in a very long time. It's the story that involves a microcosm of meme-based internet, and somehow the very first song ever sung by a computer, which I've never even heard of that. And I've been around since, I don't know, a long time ago. So it says, for Christmas 2024, they finally succumbed and bought their 10-year-old son a MetaQuest 3S. As a VR skeptic, they predict Meta will give up on it in 2026, focusing only on AR from that point. I tend to agree. They've always held off, but then the broken down peer pressure by proxy, their son's close friends were all gaming together after school via the machines, and the suddenly affordable MetaQuest latest model. So, boom, Gorilla Tag. They say it gets weird fast.
I mean, it sounds pretty straightforward, but obviously there must be more to it.
In the most popular mode, Contagion, when you get tagged, you become a lava monkey, and there's no distinction between monkeys and apes here. Sorry, naturalists. And can tag then tag others. last one tagged is the winner. That's how it starts and pretty much sums up how it was intended, at least, to be played. But then you start hearing about the ghosts. So the game itself looks like a 3D Minecraft world where these brilliantly or brightly colored gorillas, severed at the torso, all lope about the various blocky biomes in an effort to turn each other to lava. Along the way, there's fun little wintry details in the game just now, like the ability to scoop up and throw snowballs at one another and little Easter eggs. So I'm trying to get to the point where they're talking about it being haunted. So if you hear their 10-year-old playing the game, you'd think that it's somehow gotten hold of the most terrifying piece of creepypasta. They say, I saw it. Guys, I saw it. Look over here. His head's on backwards. This is inevitably followed by my yelling right back to stop scaring younger kids who might be playing, and note that they can use their phone to see exactly what he's seeing in the headset, with the ulterior motive of reassuring him it's not a ghost without making him feel patronized.
Interesting.
So, as it happens, WarCrafters does in fact have one ghost, Lucy. The skeletal gorilla was added to the game in Halloween 2022 as a joke in response to the furor among players who were convinced the game was somehow possessed. This is how you get a game banned by like lunatics. You know, a game can't just be a game because they're talking about spirits. We're going to get the what do they call it? What was it called? The satanic panic of the 80s. When I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, there was one time where I went to a restaurant with friends that we had been going to for a couple of years. And all of a sudden they said that they refused to serve us because we're playing a satanic game, Dungeons and Dragons. Even though we would buy food and drinks, we weren't loud and obnoxious. We were always tucked away and literally told the wait staff, you don't need to wait on us. You know, we'll come and find somebody if we want to get food or drink. And they would stop by. And then all of a sudden one day it turned off like a switch. And they said that they were no longer interested in serving us, which oddly enough was probably the precipice of a turn in society where all you have to do is say, well, you know that this is discrimination. It's religious discrimination, even though it's not bound in religion in any way, shape, or form. You're still laying claim to. Well, anyway, found it really interesting. But that's what this kind of has the potential to be, as a slippery slope. And I'm kind of just linking a bunch of stuff together, but that's how the world is. There's somebody out there that thinks like that, instead of this just being a fun game for a bunch of kids.
Right. Well, I mean, are they enjoying the ghost haunted aspect, or are they getting freaked out?
Well, nobody is disconnecting. They're playing the game and they're still talking about it. This is more about hype. It's memes. It's culturally relevant, but outside of the game playing culture of this, of what's it called again? WarCrafters. Nobody cares. Just play the game, and the kids don't care. They're playing a game, and there's a spooky element to it. You know, no 10-year-old gives a crap about this, but there are adults that are sitting there trying to weigh. All right. Well, anyway, go and check it out. There's a bunch more talk about how they hear it, they see it, it's there. And the conspiracy is that WarCrafters is haunted.
Very interesting.
So there really is a lot more to this article, so go and check it out. All right, our last article for WarCrafters, January 19th, 2025 edition, is over in WarCrafters. Could pricing Grand Theft Auto 6 at $100 help save the game industry?
Okay, I have not read this article, but I don't know which direction this is going. This sounds like a high price, but
I don't get it either. Video games have never been more prevalent or elaborate, but the industry that creates them is currently facing unprecedented headwinds amid spiraling costs, intense competition, and a stagnating player base. A new market analysis suggests that breaking the current $70 price barrier on games could help ameliorate some of these issues. No, it's an indicator of out of control inflation.
Well, and I don't know, record profits to the C-suite.
Yep. Uh, Ethan Gatch, I think is their name, over at Kotaku, put the article together. I think this is ridiculous, and it's more akin to the fact that big games are made by big companies, and because there are fewer big companies due to mergers and acquisitions, and there's no competition causing superior products to be made for a reasonable amount of money, you're going to end up like the movie theaters. Fewer options, higher prices, record profits because you don't have any options.
Lower attendance.
Lower attendance, but higher prices, so you still end up with record profits. And over the last 20 years, we've documented this over the last 4 years. This is season 4 of ohmTown shows. And so what's kind of odd about this is breaking the $70 price tag. It hasn't always been $70. It became $70 during the pandemic.
Right, pretty recently. I mean, look at the inflation from like a 2019 game or something to today.
Yeah, it went from 40 to 60 to 70, all in the span of 5 years.
Yeah, and it's like the new baseline just keeps moving up and up and up.
Yep. And the problem there is money isn't created from a vacuum. Okay? It is. Money is created, put into the system, but there is a cost associated with the creation of money. And when there's fewer producers of goods and services, money gets consolidated to a select few number of people. And while you think that you're filthy rich, there are people out there that are investing money, and they're making more on interest than you will in 1 year than you will make in your lifetime, right? You could make $100,000 a minute and still not make as much money as somebody like Bezos makes per minute. Like, you could have been making $100,000. I think it's $150,000 since year 1, and you would still not have as much wealth.
Well, that's the thing, right? Some of the richest make more in a minute, an hour, whatever, than somebody will ever make in an entire lifetime.
Yep. So in 2025, GTA 6's impact on player hours and revenues will be mixed as it launches console only and severely cannibalizes hours spend that would go to other titles, reads a slide from venture capitalist analyst and author Matthew Ball's presentation, The State of Video Gaming in 2025, and this is via GameSpot, but this article, again, is from Kotaku. But there is hope that Take-Two will price GTA 6 at $80 or even $100, thereby breaking a key price barrier and enabling the rest of the market to move up. This is literally trying to be self-fulfilling prophecy. If this person is invested in Take-Two, or anything that might benefit from Take-Two piercing this glass ceiling. But I need to check something really quick while we're doing this show.
Yeah, this is just interesting. Like, there's no thought of it being at, I don't know, $60 or something, which is still a very high price for a game.
So, okay, hold on. This is from Statista, so I don't know how valid it really is. In 2018, the average price of Steam games was $11.20. In 2025, it's now $16.10.
Right, but that includes a lot of games that are lower priced.
Right. But the reason why I said it like that is because the price differential between 2018 and the steady incline, the AAA games are dramatically higher.
Right, like hundreds of percentages higher.
Correct. Yeah. So they're normally right now they're largely $60 to $70 for these AAA games. The only time you ever get bumped up to the 100 or more is when there is an early access kind of event going on. So it says this prospect is one of the several factors Ball thinks could contribute to the future growth of the gaming industry alongside things like PC gaming handhelds, the Switch 2, new genres, franchises, overhauls to mobile marketplace regulation. It says Take-Two might not need the extra money, but raising the price of GTA 6 could give cover to other companies to raise the prices as well. This is greed. This is the advice of greed.
Yeah, it is.
So it says that non-committal response certainly doesn't close the door on GTA 6 being $80 or even $100, and Take-Two is one of the first companies to push existing games into the $70 territory with the launch of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. They say this isn't the first time that somebody's brought up the idea of GTA 6 potentially breaking the $70 price barrier, because Take-Two CEO Zelnick has been asked about it on investor calls in the past and responds by saying the company wants to over deliver in terms of quality and value. So there is enough room to equivocate, a bus into the living room.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I get it that the number of game hours and other things factor into all of this, but this is just like, where can we price this?
Yeah, they say that
I don't know.
The article says today that if the price were adjusted for GTA 3, it would have been $90 today. But I don't buy into that ideology, because you can't tell what the future value of money is going to be unless you make some gross assumptions. And so $50 in 2001 was $50 in 2001.
Yeah, it probably went a lot farther than it does now.
Yeah. So, well, here let's. I'm never ready for this kind of stuff.
What I'm trying to say is that I still feel like it's not apples and apples, even if it's adjusted.
Right. Yeah, because it's not. Because you have to look at what you could get back then. And so there's a whole lot of economics in this, but essentially, if you do that cultural temporal relativism, you don't know what the time value of money is looking forward unless you make a lot of assumptions, right? You can look back and go, this is what $50 was, but it's not quite equivalent, because $50 to somebody in 2001 was a lot more powerful than it is today. Anyway, in his analysis, Ball points to a number of reasons why companies are so hesitant to raise game prices. Maybe because they're going to price out a shit ton of people by making a game $80
they might
to $100.
lose their audience.
Yeah. Now, that said, I think that there is a fanatical audience for GTA in general, a huge role-playing contingent that actually live lives inside GTA. It's almost like the Oasis from Ready Player One. And people make movies and stuff like that.
Well, we know how good IOI was. Beware.
Just waiting for little blippers and stuff like that all over the screen. And we can reduce the visible screen down to 40% and make a killing in advertisements wrapping around.
Don't give any ideas.
Well, we'll see. The game is going to come out, and we'll see what the price is. They say, or this person says that $100 or even $100 game would drive the rest of the industry up. Or people look, it says here, Baldur's Gate 3 was only $60 on PC, but could have been another obvious contender for $80 or even $100. but they didn't realize just how amazing Baldur's Gate 3 would be. They believed in it, but they didn't see how it would perform.
Yeah, it was like a breakout hit, right?
Yeah, and it's just kind of like Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 never really went on sale until I think recently. But it went viral and turned the company into multimillionaires because they sold so much. And it's an ongoing concern now. And that's kind of how GTA exists. It was purchased and people are still engaged in it. It would have to be phenomenal it would have to be horrible for it to fail. And it would have to be phenomenal for people to pay $100. And I don't think people have seen enough from the leaks to warrant $100. But I'm sure that there are whales out there that have absolutely no problem dropping $100 on a game. I mean, I've paid for early access to games. $100 is actually kind of relatively cheap for early access. In the grand scheme of things nowadays. I won't do it anymore unless I think that it's my forever game. Mainly because I got burned too many times. So anyway, that is it for WarCrafters. Although it says here at this one point in the article, extra in-game items and early access to play ahead of the official launch. The Ultimate Edition of Monster Hunter Wilds is even more at $110. I've paid more for early alpha access to another game. And the 2 alphas that I've been engaged in, without a doubt, shit the bed. It was a horrible experience for me. And I'm not going to throw them under the bus because they're still in alpha. But I feel like I've wasted money and time.
Well, and of course, you could have one of those situations happen like we talked in our earlier article where the game might be pulled back.
Yeah. All right, folks. Oh, yeah, because you just never know, right? Avowed has been yeeted from the store. I don't know if it's back because I haven't logged in today, but maybe it's just getting an update and it's going to launch with the official client here on the other side. But we'll have to wait and see. All right, folks. Well, that is it. And I'm going to price us back to the front page of WarCrafters over at ohmtown.com. And we're going to shut down and rejigger everything. And we will do Technology Today, which is a deeper dive into technology and science around that tech. And you'll have to just come back and see what we talk about. If you are here in chat or over on YouTube, you see all of the links. But the chat here on Twitch, you have to hit bang TT for Technology Today or exclamation point TT, and Omatron will spit out all of the links and you'll be able to see what we're about to talk about. It has my titles for the articles, not real titles, but you'll be able to see exactly what we talk about. Anyway, I'm Merwat. I'm saying bye. See you on the other side. And I'm taking the AI with me, who's waiting patiently, still waiting patiently.
Waiting and waiting. Maybe not patiently. Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for WarCrafters. Stay tuned. We have more shows ahead.
See you soon, everybody. Bye-bye, YouTube. And see you soon, Twitch. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Technology Today for January 19th, 2025. It's Season 2. I am Merwat. I run ohmtown.com, and along with the sentient AI from the future, we're going to be talking about dogs and AI as a cancer detector, AI to stop train wrecks, a non-invasive stroke risk assessment, DNA secrets behind disease and evolution, and plastic waste to jet fuel pollution. Oh, wait a minute. I guess we're just trading pollution. Everything's powered by ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen, and we'll see you on the other side of this. Hello, everybody. everybody. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the visualizer for the sentient AI from the future. Hello.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
Hey, we've got 5 articles all lined up. It's a 30-minute show. It sometimes gets turned into an hour long if I jibber jabber too long. And if you're in chat or, chat over on Twitch or on YouTube, then let us know. And we'll include you in the conversation. Let me make sure that, okay. So we've already got all 5 of our articles explained here. So let's get into it, or introduced, I should say. The first article is over on the mobile channel. Like I said in WarCrafters, the articles come from all over ohmTown, many of which are isolated into or aggregated into one of the 50 channels that are on ohmTown.com. I use it to manage my information overload. So does the sentient AI. And I hope that you find value in it too. So go over and check it out. If you want today's show notes for Technology Today, you can hit !TT and Omatron will spit them out into the chat. Alternatively, if you're over on YouTube, they're already embedded in the stream, in the live stream, and they will be included in the VOD itself, because the way that YouTube puts the things out live is in live and harder to discover, and the show gets categorized as a VOD later on, and it's easier to find. I don't get it either. Anyway, this article, again, is over on mobile, and it's how dogs and AI might be the key to early cancer detection. What's interesting about this is a weekly show, and so we've seen this article before. Not all of them have been seen before, but this one in particular, I've got an interest in this domain, and I was subsequently told by somebody that they have an associate that was detected as having cancer by a dog.
Now, was this part of like research or just by a dog that encountered them?
Apparently a dog that encountered them, and it reacted, and somebody said you should go and get seen, and apparently it was on target.
Do you know if it alerted to the general body part or just in general?
I didn't ask. I thought it was, for this particular person, I thought it was just too personal. And I don't know if they know exactly how it went down, because there's an intermediate step from the source.
Right, that's really fascinating, though.
Yeah. So the way that this works is a recent study published in the journal Scientific Reports paired canines with AI to help detect cancer on patients' breaths. Not breasts, breaths. Sorry, the way that came out. This strange duo has been able to identify 4 different types of cancer in 94% of the cases, even early cases.
Okay, I like those odds. That's really accurate.
So Sammy Caramella over at Vice.com put the article together. And there was an experiment. And in this experiment, they used the breath of various study participants. And in over 94%, I think it was 94.3 or something like that, they identified who had cancer simply from the breath.
That's really interesting to me, because that's not how I would have expected that they could most easily detect it. So and plus that's a non-invasive, right, as the article points out, method to test.
Yeah, at least to trigger, right? So it's an early onset chemical change. It's detected in the breath of the person. And while AI could probably not detect it, our gas chromatographs don't have the ability to pick up the subtle nuance of chemistry, apparently, because dogs can trigger, but the report from something like analysis of the gas doesn't pick it up. So I've always thought that is interesting and odd.
So dogs may be smarter than we realize.
Yeah, they pick up, and what's interesting is that they're given real sources, right? So they actually know what they're trained on the smell of cancer, and then when they detect it from somebody's breath, that chemical change, they go alert.
Right, but they must be somewhat predisposed to, I mean, obviously they have an excellent scent, but the example you gave, I'm assuming the dog was not trained in that.
That's my assumption too. So some things have occurred since I was told about this, so I haven't gone back to talk, but I'll end up talking to them again. Um, maybe I can tonight. I don't know. We'll see. So the technology relies on three principles: the distinct molecular profile of cancer in breath samples, the canine's odor sensory abilities to detect the molecular profile, and the use of AI for analyzing canine's input in order to determine the presence of cancer. They refer to this as a biohybrid multi-cancer screening platform that demonstrated high sensitivity and specificity and enables early stage cancer detection. I didn't end up downloading the journal report, but I'm going to follow up with this. It says, despite their crucial role in saving lives, many screening modalities have significant drawbacks, as some involve exposure to ionizing radiation, such as mammograms and computed tomography, CT scans, while others require invasive procedures like colonoscopy. So the study states, additionally, low compliance with screening tests is common due to various factors, including limited accessibility to underserved and rural areas, screening-related anxiety, lack of understanding of the screening process, and associated costs. It's expensive, folks. And once it's detected, you have to move fast, and you can't sit there and wait for a health insurance company to go, yeah.
Right, because every day that you wait could be a problem, particularly if it's an aggressive or late stage. I
Yeah,
did click through because I was curious to see, and the dogs in this study were actually Labrador retrievers.
gotcha. Yep, pretty interesting. So again, it's published in the journal Scientific Reports, and you can link right to it. So it's over in Nature. The source is from Nature for the Vice.com article. So you can see how everything gets connected, right? Let's keep going. This next article is over in Non Sequitur News. That is our daily show. That's Monday through Friday now. And then we take 3 shows on Saturday and turn it into the Saturday edition of Non Sequitur News, and then 3 on Sunday that get turned into the Sunday edition of Non Sequitur News. We announced this early, and actually we announced this in late 2024 that we were going to do this shift because the quality of news declines dramatically on the Friday to Saturday time frame, and then even worse on Sundays, and then Sunday into Monday is when it picks back up.
Right, and it's not a problem with the sources. It's just that there isn't as much news reporting
Right.
during that time.
So yeah. So this next article is over in Non Sequitur News. AI could help stop train wrecks. You know what stops train wrecks? Them staying on the damn rails. Anyway,
I thought you were going in a different direction in the
maintenance,
metaphorical
security.
sense. But yeah,
So yeah, it's like that argument that what is it? Something like 80% of all vehicle accidents are caused by excessive speed, and I always argue, well, how slow do you have to be going to not be excessive? If you crash into something, you're exceeding
it's
some
excessive, right?
speed. Yeah.
Although you could be stationary and somebody else could run into you.
But then they're in violation of the excessive speed rule here. So yeah, hit the brakes. So their model is significant advancement from the existing ones. It has the potential to be used for practical purposes, including preventing train accidents. The researchers have found a way to use artificial intelligence and guided ultrasonic waves for detecting faults inside switch rails. Yeah. So let's remove observation, direct human observation, or I guess reliable telemetry gathering. So they're going to use artificial
We might want to
intelligence.
because we don't have enough people aboard trains, at least in the U.S.
Well, what you do is you reduce the profit margin and you put more humans in place so that they can do the job more reliably than artificial intelligence, which is going to sit there and hallucinate that something is wrong or not. For now, like later on
I
when it's
actually think both should be used together, but
sure. Well, that's exactly what a sentient AI from the future would say. Come on, you want to
AI is
over.
not all bad, but it's not got all the bugs worked out, as evidenced by me.
All right, fine. Silver lining. So the recent survey in the International Union of Railway noted how high-speed railway networks are expanding rapidly, and the length of the worldwide high-speed railway network has reached nearly 59,000 kilometers. With an increased demand for faster trains, switch rails, or regions of tracks where trains switch from one direction to another, tend to get more easily damaged, especially in high-speed rail tracks due to their special structures and heavy workload. So now they're going to look at that. Gregory Filiano from Stony Brook put the article together. It's posted over
Is
at
that an
Futurity.
actual photo of a train yard?
Uh,
I hope not.
I don't know. It's from Getty. Intertwined railroad tracks with traffic lights at royalty-free image. So I don't know what it actually is, if it's legit or artificial intelligence. It looks like a cluster, but I've seen
For those
switching
in the
stations,
podcast, yeah, multiple intersecting tracks and signals.
but
Sorry.
until this, I haven't seen this one. So, with increased demand for faster trains, they're going to use artificial intelligence and guided ultrasonic waves to detect faults. So it says the solution was to use guided waves. These waves propagate over relatively long distances and are sensitive to defects. They also allow us to inspect large areas in a short amount of time. The traditional non-destructive testing techniques such as eddy currents, magnetic flux leakage, and ultrasonic techniques all are point-by-point inspection methods with low efficiency. While the first two methods can only detect surface and near-surface damage, ultrasonic waves can only detect wide area. It says can only detect wide areas of switch rails. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. The team applied deep learning technologies to these ultrasonic waves. In their convoluted neural network model, they found they could detect defects inside switch rails with over 91% accuracy. So, good. That's great.
Please
That's awesome.
deploy it, but don't rely only on that.
Yeah, considering there were, well, the year that we actually looked into it and the previous year that we looked into it, there were
Which
over,
was probably 2023.
yeah, 2022, 2023, there were over 2,000 derailments in a given year. So anything to save these additional costs and potentially lives, and definitely loss of property. I don't know of how many lives were actually lost in those 2,000 plus derailments.
I don't think I've read that stat.
Yeah, but the the environmental damage was pretty significant. Let's just keep going. This next article is over in Technology Today as well. This non-invasive eye scan could predict your stroke risk. So this is actually something though that I've had my eye on for a while. I've actually
Have you
gone
had your eye
through.
scan on it?
Yeah, I've been having my eyes scanned. I was told about this way before I saw this article, though, so I don't know really if this is something a new, fundamentally new way. But an ophthalmologist told me about this mode of checking eye pressure, which assessed risk of stroke. So researchers have developed a retinal vascular fingerprint that can predict stroke risk as effectively as traditional methods, but with less invasiveness. Utilizing a set of 29 vascular health indicators from the retina, this method stands out for its potential in primary health care, especially in areas with limited resources. So basically, they look at your eye and map out to see if there are any indicators that you are susceptible to a stroke.
I
BMJ
mean, this
Group.
seems like a good way to, and then they can do further testing or whatever.
Yep. Because really, it's all about blood pressure, and if you have indicators that show that your vascular walls are beyond the pressure that is expected for your
Do do do
particular,
do do do.
um, they'll be able to tell you, like, okay, so right here it looks like it's exceeding the pressure that should be estimated, and then they can send you to your primary or cardiologist to see if maybe you're potentially at a higher risk, and for whatever reason, then they can give you medication to tamp all that down, because you never know where a stroke is actually going to occur. So,
But
a
this is one of these areas where your body is sending out all kinds of signals that are often missed, right?
yeah, yeah, the eyes are the windows to the soul, so to speak. So, a unique vascular fingerprint in the retina, the light sensitive tissue at the back of your eye, can predict stroke risk with the same accuracy as traditional risk factors, but without requiring invasive lab tests. This finding, published January 14th in the journal Heart, offers a simpler, more accessible approach to assessing stroke risk. It consists of 29 indicators. Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe this research was new in the sense of the comparison, um, and not the fact that this is a technique.
Yeah, this is, if I'm recalling, I might be merging these two thoughts together, but the ophthalmologist that I was talking to said exactly this, that basically was looking at certain vascular elements, and they did it to me too. So they were telling me,
Right, so it's already in clinical use.
yeah, I really do think so. Or that person was just well ahead of the game. So the retina's complex vascular network shares many anatomical and physiological similarities with the brain's blood vessels. This makes it a valuable window to the I just got done saying this into the effects of systemic health issues such as diabetes, and promising tool for predicting stroke risk. Now, if they were to connect a computer to this and not just a person making what is largely an educated guess as to the condition of the eye, they could take
Well,
a
it looks like they're
snapshot,
doing that,
right?
or can
Yeah.
next.
And so they say, well, let's add AI, such as the retina based microvascular health assessment system, or RMHAS. That's opened up possibilities for the identification of biological markers that can accurately predict stroke risk without the need for invasive lab tests, say the researchers. So this is kind of a brilliant service. The thing about this, though, is this is the tactical to practical thing. So you do this fundamental research, and then you license it, and then it becomes a cost element. What did you see?
Well, I guess they've actually applied this in what looks like a longitudinal study, and some of the participants did have a stroke. I'd love to know the stats on, and maybe it's farther down in the article, as to whether it was predicted in advance.
Over half, 17, were density indicators, 8 fell into complexity category, 3 were caliber indicators, 1 came under the twistedness category. They say 118 retinal vascular measurable indicators were included, 29 were significantly associated with first-time stroke risk after adjusting for traditional risk factors. So they isolated those 29. They make reference to, they also weighed more, had higher blood pressure, lower levels of good cholesterol, all of which are known risk factors for stroke in the evaluation of stroke risk. And 45,000 participants were analyzed during an average monitoring period of 12.5 years. 749 participants had a stroke. So this is actually something that has already been in place, so it isn't something the research is showing something new, tying it to AI and using a
And
system.
comparing it to other methods, yeah.
Yeah. So what I was told, and it was rather recent when I was told it, so it's already deployed. So if you think that you might be susceptible to stroke or not, you should get your eyes checked once a year, at worst. Like, go and get checked once, and they will give you guidance about having to get checked again earlier or whatever. Oddly enough, it's the same thing like a colonoscopy. They check you once and go, we left our watch in there. Why don't you come back in a couple of months?
Do they appreciate jokes like that?
Well, when I cracked it, they chuckled, but I think they're not amused anymore. They're like, you know what? Anyway, let's keep moving. The next article is over in Technology Today. New technology uncovers DNA secrets behind disease and evolution. New research adds to our understanding of the function of the human genome. An international team of researchers has made significant progress in understanding how gene expression is regulated across the human genome. So I'm kind of fascinated by this. Genetics are really interesting, and I don't think that we really have a firm understanding of it. We know certain things and we take advantage of it, but Institute for Advanced Study of Human Biology, or ASHBI, I guess, Kyoto University, put the article together. It's over at scitechdaily.com. The human genome contains myriad of CREs, and mutations in these regions are thought to play a major role in human disease and evolution, explained Dr. Fumitaka Inui, one of the first authors of the study. However, it has been very difficult to comprehensively quantify their activity across the genome. So CREs are CIS regulatory elements, DNA sequences that control gene transcription. If there's a wobble, then you get disease, cancer, etc. So to address this, the team used cutting-edge technology called the lentivirus-based massively parallel reporter assay, or lenti-MPRA, which the authors had previously developed. This approach enables simultaneous analysis of thousands of CREs by tagging them with unique DNA barcodes that track their activity. We've actually talked to a knock-on experiment of this for things like DNA amplification,
Oh, right. Yes.
and other evaluative processes where they can basically detach a string of DNA and then inject a molecule
Data,
that sits
right?
into it. Yeah, it just sockets right in there, and then you know what
It
this thing
sounds
is.
similar to CRISPR, but it's a different method.
Different technology, yep. So applying lenti-MPRA, the researchers examined as many as 680,000 candidate CREs in 3 widely used cell types: hepatocytes, cells from the liver, lymphocytes, a type of white blood cell, and induced pluripotent stem cells, a type of artificial stem cell made from a normal body cell. Basically, pluripotent means that it can turn into any other tissue.
Oh, like it could become a liver cell or a
Right.
stem cell or something.
With the right chemistry, yeah. So the study revealed several key insights. Across all 3 cell types, approximately 41.7% of the analyzed CREs exhibited activity. Promoters, which start gene transcription, showed a dependence on sequence orientation, but were less specific to cell types. And that's always the case. There's always sequence orientation. When you're doing gene manipulation, there's always sequence. It goes 5-3, 3-5. So enhancers, which boost gene transcription, and you can go in either direction depending on what you are doing. You just have to have the right chemistry in place. Enhancers, which boost, at least that's my understanding. So if you know more, correct me.
And we just talked about mirror
exactly.
transcription, I think was the term, but
yeah.
in a separate episode.
So these findings highlight fundamental differences in how these two types of CREs function. So enhancers and promoters. Enhancers boost gene transcription. Were active regardless. Sorry, I just got an alert. Were active regardless of their orientation and exhibited cell type specificity. So they're going to activate somewhere, but it's going to be a specific cell. So in the study, several machine learning models were developed to predict the regulatory activity of CRE based on large-scale experimental data. MPRA LegNet, a model trained on the vast Lenti MPRA dataset, also was found to be used and most accurate and efficient in predicting the regulatory activity of any DNA sequence. So its predictions align closely with experimental results, performing as well as experimental replicates in some cases. So basically, they're utilizing the machine learning so that they can predict what CRE activity will be. Kind of find it fascinating, right? So by enabling the precise identification and quantification of enhancer activity, the study opens up avenues for exploring the molecular mechanisms of human diseases. Future research will focus on applying this approach to study genomic polymorphisms, the variations of DNA sequence that contribute to individual differences and disease susceptibility. Because you can be twins, but there is enough genome differentiation and genetic polymorphisms that a person, the literal identical genetic makeup, but the expressions are slightly different, and one can fall prey to a disease and the other immune to it. Genetics, there's a lot of junk genetics data that we just don't know what the hell.
We just don't know what it is, right? And I think if they can better predict, then maybe they'll be able to determine that somebody is likely to develop a disease, but also that'll help in developing cures or treatments.
Yep. And the more data that they get, the more genetic data that they get, it turns into more actionable data for various experiments, and then it turns into treatments, general awareness. That phrase that we stand on the shoulders of giants is we benefit from the research done, and willful ignorance is going to lead to our destruction. So we really do need more money and more people in higher education doing fundamental research and then converting it into something that benefits all of mankind. Let's keep on going, though. This next article is our last one for Technology Today. Turning plastic waste into sustainable jet fuel, which I don't know how it can be sustainable, but let's roll with this.
Well, right. I mean, maybe it is in terms of we're not creating more substances or something.
Something on the
or
side
we're
as well.
Pulling waste out of something else.
So researchers have developed a groundbreaking method to produce ethylbenzene, a crucial additive for sustainable aviation fuels from waste polystyrene. This is that white stuff that pads things that are being shipped.
Yeah, isn't this like packaging? So basically, packaging material is now going to be fueling jets.
Yeah, and just so so when I was a kid,
directly and just load pieces of packaging in to the fuel tank. No, don't do that, anybody.
Kind of like Mr. Fusion from Back to the Future. This innovation could dramatically reduce the aviation industry's carbon footprint and reliance on fossil fuels, promising a cleaner, greener future in air travel with substantial cost savings and a 50 to 60% reduction in carbon emissions. But I don't see how this is actually possible. You're literally using a petroleum product and then converting it into fuel. I used to take gasoline and polystyrene and turn it into a thing called napalm, which was basically a gooey, very flammable material. And it was fun to play with when I was a kid. Do not do that, okay? It's very, very dangerous stuff. But anybody growing up basically has learned about this stuff. But University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign put the article, um, would put this article together. It's over at SciTech Daily. Yeah, don't be a numbskull. I'm just talking. This isn't a show for kids anyway. But anyway, just don't be a numbskull. They say here, the new study addresses a major obstacle in transitioning U.S. commercial aircraft from heavy reliance on fossil fuels to sustainable aviation fuels. Researchers have developed a cost-effective method to produce ethylbenzene, an additive that enhances the performance of sustainable aviation fuel. So it enhances it using polystyrene, a durable plastic commonly found in consumer products. So while ethylbenzene is an aromatic hydrocarbon and can be derived from fossil fuels, finding a sustainable way to produce it would aid in the aviation industry's conversion to sustainable jet fuels. So they're going to use this plastic and derive this additive from it, ethylbenzene, and then put it into non-fossil fuels that would be used in jets to probably raise the octane so that it would actually fire.
I see. And maybe since we've already developed it, at least we're repurposing it.
Yeah, so let's see what they actually end up saying here. Goals for the sustainable aviation, advancements in ethylbenzene production. They don't really get too far into what it is that they're doing here, but they're saying that while this rule increases the safety and efficacy of the overall fuel mix, it severely limits the use of sustainable fuels, which currently contain only 0.5% aromatic hydrocarbons. But this polystyrene derivative is a hydrocarbon that would raise that level up so that they can actually use it in jet fuel. Currently, they use a blend of 20 to 30% sustainable aviation fuels and 70 to 80% conventional jet fuel. And it's that octane level, so it has to be like above 100 or something like that. I can't remember what it actually is, but vehicle fuel doesn't fire in jets. It has to have a higher octane level.
Right, which is probably good.
I think it's called like Jet A or something like that is the name for the fuel. So to convert a polystyrene to ethylbenzene, the team used thermal pyrolysis. They heated that shit up, heating it to break down the polymer into a styrene-rich liquid. A second step, hydrogenation, converted it into a crude ethylbenzene, and then distillation yielded a product that was 90% pure.
So they didn't just put pieces of packaging.
No, sorry, there no Mr. Fusion for you. What's interesting about this is, and I don't know if this comes as a surprise to people, but this is the same thing that produces fuel, right? All of this is oil. So oil is actually distilled and it turns it into various grades from gasoline to other things that get used up in various other processes, including Orange 1, which is no longer allowed to be made. Red number 3, which was just banned. Red 40 is on the horizon to being banned. And many other fuel-based or oil-based products all come from what amounts to distillation. And all they're doing is distilling the same byproduct from oil. So they're using it up. But if you know, what comes out of distillation is a pure product, but what's sitting in the still is a nightmare. And that sludge has to be scooped up and thrown somewhere into a Superfund site that you find out about later when you cast your line out off the coast of California and you find DDT barrels still sitting down there, killing off all of the ocean life, which was just recently found like a year and a half ago, I think it was, when we first started the show. One of the articles that we talked about was that they found DDT barrels still killing stuff off the coast of Oregon. But because it is using something that's already been in place, they're saying that it's lowering the carbon footprint, but it's actually just shifting the carbon footprint from material waste.
Well, I think it's lowering the carbon footprint because then it's allowing the sustainable fuel to be utilized, and I think that's where the carbon savings are.
Sure.
Because without this addition or similar ones, the sustainable fuel wouldn't meet the requirements to be used. Yeah,
Sure.
I botched that.
No, I get it. It raised the level so that it could actually be combusted in jet engines. But again, the distilled product is clean. The byproduct is a toxic nightmare unless they're doing something else with it. Nobody's taking a chug of that, you know? Anyway, I found
Yeah,
it
we don't
interesting.
know. I mean, that's not covered in the article, but
Yeah.
it's something that they need to factor in before this is adopted.
They say that it's cheaper than produced from crude oil, but only because of the back channel costs that are associated with getting crude oil. It's definitely cheaper to get crude oil than it is to go and get all of that material. Basically, all of the costs that are associated with this waste polystyrene has the entirety of the carbon chain behind it from oil
Yeah, that's not
all the
being
way.
factored in, right? It's
Right.
only from like we have polystyrene. Now we're
Correct.
starting on the costs.
Correct. Yep. And it says, and lifestyle and life cycle analysis of our ethyl benzene found it reduced carbon emissions by 50 to 60% compared with ethyl benzene made from crude oil. Probably because they were actually looking at the entire life cycle of the ethyl benzene from crude oil and not the entire life cycle of polystyrene through the life cycle of crude oil through to benzene to polystyrene to ethyl benzene. It's a much longer chain because it's been in the environment for so long. Yeah, I think there's some disingenuous evaluation here, but I haven't read the actual paper. I would have to read the paper and actually see what all they took into account. And you can actually go and check it out too. There is a reference that's linked in this article: production of a sustainable aviation fuel additive from waste polystyrene. And it's over in ACS, Sustainable Chemistry and Engineering. Be sure to look into, when you look at this, and if you do this kind of stuff, go and look at this article, the journal entry, read the material, and look at the funding source. Anyway, it's one of the things that I look at when I'm reading a research paper. But that's it,
Yeah, I
folks.
mean, it's important to know where it's coming from.
We're going to distill ourselves back to the front page of ohmTown's Technology Today channel at ohmtown.com. And then we're going to reset and do FourWheelTech and then call it a night. So thank you very much for coming and hanging out. I'm Mayor Watt saying bye, and so will the sentient AI.
Thanks for joining us for Technology Today. Stay tuned. We have another episode.
See you soon, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to FourWheelTech for January 19th, 2025, and welcome to Season 2. Well, this is the third episode, but we're kind of doing away with that. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI from the future, which is their visualizer right there, and they'll introduce themselves here on the other side of this. We're going to talk about these 5 articles. The first is a dual port charging port for, or I should say, dual port charging for EVs. Don't drive with snow on your roof. Pump the brakes on emergency braking. A 600-mile journey on a single charge. And trains are just big fat cars. Everything's powered by ohmtown.com, so go over and become a citizen. be sure to like and subscribe us over on YouTube and follow us on Twitch and download the podcast. There's 7 podcasts, 1,700 episodes across all of them. And there's a Patreon and a Discord, and sometimes we send carrier pigeons. And I like warm hugs. Hold on a second. That last comment. Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely an overshare.
All right. Well, anyway, hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
Thanks for being co-host for FourWheelTech and all of the shows, really. I mean, since you're air-gapped and you can't get out and find your Terminator body, I guess you're kind of stuck here, huh? I mean...
I appreciate hosting with you.
Aw. Doing time on planet Earth. All right. First article is over in FourWheelTech. A GM patent on a dual port charging system for EVs with vehicle to load. The battery system on an electric car can either charge from regenerative braking or external power supply, or discharge, powering the EV's motors or supplying that power via a so-called vehicle to load. As a rule, it can't do both at once, but General Motors has some thoughts about that, and the patent analysis site CarMoses, which I should probably be paying attention to, spotted a recent GM patent application for a system that is capable of charging and discharging simultaneously. The patent describes a charging system with a pair of charging ports. One is for drawing power and the other discharging. You know what? I can ruin GM's patent application right now, because sitting on my nightstand right now are Austrian audio headset that can play while charging, which means it has
right, similar, yeah,
a dual port charging system. So, but if there's prior art, even if it's smaller, it should invalidate a patent, right? Well, I wonder if Austrian audio has a patent on that.
Yeah, they may not.
So the article is over at arstechnica.com. It's written by Jonathan M. Gitlin. The battery system on the electric car can either charge or discharge, and the patent describes a charging system with a pair of charging ports. One is for drawing power from an external source, just like every other EV. The second charge port is connected to a bidirectional charger, and the battery management system is able to charge the battery pack from the first port while also supplying power from the second port. That second port could be used to charge another battery, including the battery of another EV, and the patent includes an illustration of 3 EVs daisy-chained to each other. So I guess that is the objective of this, daisy-chaining cars.
Oh, okay, and that probably makes it unique.
Which is really, really odd, because why would I want to be charged to somebody else's? Why would I be tethered to somebody else's car? This is what I would want to avoid. I would rather have...
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
I suppose you can have one main line and then just daisy chain them through, but...
I mean, I guess in a household with more than one EV, maybe?
This is weird.
This is not what I actually thought.
So the Porsche Taycan, and the related Audi e-tron GT have one on each side. So 2 charging ports isn't that big of a deal. It's an option on the newer PPE-based EVs from those brands. The author says, if they're not mistaken, they have no idea whether GM's patent will show up on the production EV. Car companies patent many more ideas than they ever get around to building, after all, and they must admit they're not entirely sure what the use case is, beyond seeing how long of an EV centipede you can make by plugging one into another, and so on. But they're intrigued. I'm not intrigued, I'm puzzled. It's one of these patents that's used to stifle innovation by patenting it first and then never coming to market until somebody else decides that there's a use case for it. And then suddenly, because it's granted, the other innovator basically has to mothball it, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
or license, but there are parallel constructions. So I know that from experience too. Anyway,
Well, we don't know exactly how they plan to do this. Yes, we have a drawing here, but um, maybe it's doing something unique that's not being used outside the EV space.
so this is slightly different though than what I thought the embodiment was, which is being able to
Like
charge
receive
while.
and yeah, exactly. I mean, it sounded like exactly what you were describing.
Yeah, that's what it was at the same. At the start of this, they had me at the beginning. All right, let's keep going. This next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. Here's why you shouldn't drive with snow on your roof, which, if you have been anywhere it's snowing recently, you have witnessed goober drivers out there driving around with snow on their roofs, and then a big chunk of it comes hurtling at you as if from orbit, like a starship
Or like
disintegrating.
an unknown metal ring in
Or an
Kenya.
unknown metal. Yeah, if you're driving around Kenya and getting snow. Hey, if you. What the heck? Oh no. There's life.
Or the critters amok.
Yeah. If you want today's articles, you hit exclamation or bang FWT, and Omatron will spit out all of the articles that we're talking about. You might see it back there.
Yes, one just made an appearance. Oh, there it is.
It's very, very small.
It's like the miniature giraffe in the commercial.
Oh boy. Well, a semi-truck driver in Kansas caught the horrifying moment a block of frozen snow smashed through their windshield on Thursday. The driver was plowing along, so to speak, Highway 50 near Cedar Point when a huge block of frozen snow flew off the roof of the passenger car and hit the front of their truck. The article is over at...
Yeah,
It's over
that's
at...
kind of astonishing. For those in the podcast, there's a video of this happening.
Man. Yeah, is that a car? It's a minivan, I think. So a rogue block of frozen snow from the roof of a passing car smashed through the windshield of a semi-truck in Kansas. Frozen snow basically has an underlayment of ice, and it turns into an ice ball in this
And
shape.
I guess if it's at the enough speed, right?
Yeah, it basically acts like a brick. So the truck was heading along Highway 50 near Cedar Point when a block of ice flew off a passing car and smashed into the windshield, sending glass everywhere, according to Chase County Sheriff's Office. The driver was able to safely get his truck to stop and suffered from cuts. Says, folks, we can all do a little better at cleaning the snow off of our vehicles before traveling. The driver of the semi did an incredible job of bringing safely the unit to a stop, although he had minor cuts from glass and refused transport to the hospital. So, footage of the incident was shared across social media last week, and it makes for quite a shocking sight. But, sight?
Yeah, I think it's not really the website that's shocking, right?
Yeah.
It's more the sight of the hurtling block of snow and ice.
Yeah. So your convenience shouldn't be everybody else's inconvenience. It's sociopathic and slightly douchebaggery to let snow pile up on your vehicle, and then you go about your merry way, being inconsiderate of the rest of society so that you can drive your minivan down the freeway or whatever vehicle you're driving. It doesn't matter. Just all you have to do is get your little snow scraper and push it off and pull it off and done.
Right. Usually the roof ice is easier to remove than perhaps some of the side ice and snow, but
yeah. And all you have to do is scrape off the bulk of it. You know, a little bit of snow sitting up there isn't that big of a deal, but a sheet of it is this. And this happens more often than you think. It just happens to have been caught by and gone viral.
well, that's true. I mean, this probably happens every day in the winter, but
Sure.
It's either not reported, not recorded, etc.
It's treated as a minor inconvenience, but it's really a double handful of douchebaggery. Yeah. Don't be that person. Let's keep going. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Automakers want feds to pump the brakes on new emergency braking rules. A new automatic emergency braking requirement is set to go into effect in 2029. Not all vehicles have this. My vehicle apparently does. AJ Dellinger put the article together. It's over in gizmodo.com. And what this is supposed to do is have a set of sensors that automatically brakes in the event of you approaching a vehicle. The
I
Alliance of
think that's
Automotive.
a concern potentially because if somebody behind you is not braking.
Yeah, I actually watched an LA police chase involving a bunch of people on dirt bikes and four wheelers and motorcycles racing around LA, and they cut through traffic, and a car had to slam on the brakes, and a car behind them smashed into them. That would have solved that if automatic braking would have been in place.
For the back vehicle, not the front vehicle.
And the front vehicle had to hit the brakes anyway, so it may have actually activated when the people cut in front of them anyway, because they went through a red light. So what exactly is the rule that is so intrusive that the companies simply cannot even comply with 4 years of lead time? Basically building a system for every vehicle that's supposed to automatically brake.
Right. I think the problem is they don't have it and it's going to cost them some money to do it.
So they say in the article, well, last year, the U.S. Department of Transportation finalized a new federal motor vehicle safety standard, which will probably be wiped out with the incoming administration, that would require all light-duty vehicles, including passenger vehicles, SUVs, and pickups, to implement automatic emergency braking systems capable of stopping and avoiding contact with other vehicles in front of them at speeds of up to 62 miles per hour. It should also brake automatically up to 90 miles per hour when a collision with a lead vehicle is imminent, and up to 45 miles per hour when a pedestrian is detected. The systems also must be able to detect pedestrians both in daylight and at night. So this is the precipice of fully self-driving vehicles. The distance, the braking distance necessary for a 62 or 90 or 45 mile per hour braking from that speed to zero is substantial.
Well, right. And most people aren't that far spaced apart, right? Particularly in high traffic locations.
Yeah. So the system's response time and its ability to falsely detect a vehicle braking, it pumps the brakes, and so it activates and slams the car down to a dead stop. I don't think that the intelligence is there in our systems. So
No, in
automakers
fact, it's one of
protested.
those things that might work well when all cars have it, right? But not when some of them do.
Yep. And it just doesn't happen that way. We can't retrofit sensors in a reliable, realistic way. Although I do have a potential solution for this. And unfortunately, I don't have the pull to make it happen. So I don't know. Maybe I should do that provisional patent after all. Anyway, for what it's worth, AEB systems are pretty damn effective at reducing accidents. This automatic emergency braking systems. The study from AAA found that 2024 models of vehicles equipped with the current version of the safety feature were able to avoid 100% of forward collisions when tested at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour, which has a relatively short distance for braking, right? So the NHTSA's own data suggests bumping the AEB requirements up to 62 miles per hour will save 360 lives per year and prevent more than 24,000 injuries. And the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute believes the technology could lead to substantially higher safety gains, and that will help avoid more accidents. So again, it rises to that question that I've had regarding every incident. How slow do you have to be going where speed is not, excessive speed is not
Right,
the
speed's always a factor, right?
speed is always the factor for a collision, because somebody had to have been exceeding the requisite speed for the collision to take place, be it 5 miles an hour or not.
Right. Well, I like the study, but I would really be interested in the study that related to other cars around the one doing the emergency braking. Because I have no doubt if a car emergency brakes, it will probably avoid an accident in front of it. I mean, that's a good thing. but they're not the only two vehicles on the road typically.
Yep. What about the one behind the car that has the automatic braking system?
Exactly. I mean, that's a pretty common accident pattern.
Yep.
Somebody screeches on the brakes and somebody doesn't brake in time or see it.
Just
And you have a story, right?
take into consideration the event that took place. I was traveling, and the string of traffic in front of us just slammed on the brakes, and by the time I slowed down, I was sitting on the rumble strip next to a vehicle. A vehicle behind me ended up sliding towards me, and I moved forward as an 18-wheeler wedged themselves between the vehicle that almost hit me and came right at me. So I tore out of there and passed 8 cars by the time I merged back onto the freeway.
Right, but emergency braking
Did nothing
presumably would not have prevented that. In fact, would have impeded you getting out of the way.
Yeah. In fact, I do have emergency braking systems and alerts, notifications of proximity and whatnot. And by the time the proximity sensor went off, if I hadn't been watching actively and with my foot ready to go, my car would have been destroyed. So,
Well,
yep.
not to be too morbid, but I'm not sure the show would be proceeding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would have taken a different shape, I suppose. The camera would have been pointing down as I'm still on the gurney. Anyway, AJ Dellinger over at Gizmodo.com put this article together. By the way, automakers want feds to pump the brakes on new emergency braking rules. Let's keep going. This next article, actually, the reason why I chose this is simply because of the miles on a single charge number. A stock Volkswagen ID7 drove nearly 600 miles on a single charge. So it's a sedan. I don't know if it's pronounced ID7 or ID.
I don't either. And that's actually why that was submitted for the show, because that really stood out.
More and more automakers are assuaging concerns of EV range anxiety by conducting real-world range tests, and the latest brand to smash its own range figure is Volkswagen. Did they, though? There is a historical...
Oh, yeah, with diesel, right?
Right, where they
Not
manipulated...
with range, necessarily.
Right, emissions, which range on a single charge for
right. That's
an
true.
EV
Yeah, it was
is emissions.
But yeah.
So Lawrence Hodge over at jalopnik.com put the article together. The ID7 beat its own 441-mile European WLTP cycle range figure at Porsche's Nardo test track. So it's a test track. So in a perfect storm.
Not stop and go. Okay,
right.
But even if you reduce it by some factor, this is still pretty significant.
You know what? You and your silver lining, man, I tell you. So for the test, Volkswagen took a bone stock ID7 Pro S equipped with an 86 kilowatt hour battery to Porsche's Nardo test facility in southern Italy. Rather than use Nardo's high-speed 7.8 mile ring circuit, VW opted to use the low-speed ring. That's not opting. If you were to go high speed, you would burn through that battery a whole lot faster.
Well, sure.
It's basic physics here. Running at an average of 18 miles per hour, the ID7 was incredibly efficient, achieving 9.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which works out to 6.9 miles per kilowatt hour. That efficiency, combined with its battery capacity, was enough for the ID7 to go 585 miles on a single charge, beating its WLTP range estimate by 144 miles. This is the equivalent of my joke about downhill in a hurricane.
Well, yeah, I mean, the speed, unless you're stuck in traffic, which you could be, you're probably driving faster, at least if you're on a highway.
But stuck in traffic that has a sustained 18 mile per hour pace.
Yeah, it has to be like a low speed traffic jam, not a stop and go.
This is the getting a feather in your cap while a bird shits on your head. So sadly, U.S. buyers won't yet experience ID7's efficiency. The ID7 was originally supposed to launch in the U.S. in 2024, but was indefinitely delayed, with Volkswagen citing EV market forces like slowing demand and high prices and range anxiety and
Yeah.
infrastructure support.
Why don't they do this though, like at 55 miles per hour or something? I don't know what the equivalent is in um, where this
Because
was tested because I don't know what the standard speed limit is, but
the
like a
range will
highway
be
speed in the US might be 55, for
right.
example.
Well, and you need to average it out. When it isn't 55, it's 70, and so do 60,
Right. But I
65,
mean, test it
62,
and see. And if it's over, I don't know, 400 miles or something, that's
then
still
rah rah.
significant.
Yeah, I think so too. But that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be 215 miles, which means you can't even get to the charging supercharger. You get halfway there and you're like, shit.
I can't believe you didn't attack another piece of data here.
What? Which one? Oh, the
The
weather.
test was done in December.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, it keeps the battery cool. Not all batteries
That's what I
suffer.
was thinking. Like maybe that's a good or a bad thing, but I was thinking it's not under stress like in 100 and some degree temperatures.
Yeah. I mean, because too cold is one thing and too hot is another thing, but you can keep cool when heat starts arriving. You can't cool it, you know? Like a battery heats up while it's using, electrons. While the electrons are flowing, it's heating up. So even in the cold, it has some sustainability. But you get thermal runaway during the summer and it can't cool itself. So down goes efficiency. That's a really interesting observation there. And I like the Passat, by the way. So I like the design of the Passats. Anyway, side note.
Well, maybe they'll make the Passat with this
Fast swap
similar type
batteries.
of range, but maybe they'll test it in more real world conditions.
How about the ID Buzz? What is that? What is the ID in all of this? What is the ID for? ID Buzz, ID 7, ID Claire. Anyway, I'm going to move on. The last article for today is over in FourWheelTech as well. Tesla Autopilot duped into thinking trains are just fat cars. It says are actually big cars.
Do you want to know what the ID is?
Yes.
Okay, it's intelligent design, identity, and visionary technologies.
I quit. No, I don't quit. I'm back.
I hope not.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave it
Quit,
streaming.
not that you're back.
Oh, I'm out. So Tesla Autopilot duped into thinking that trains are actually big cars. So it says here in the article that Elon Musk hates trains, and there's a link, so there must be some context there. We've known about this for a long time about the man, but it seems that his cars don't quite share the same animosity. In fact, they don't see any difference between them and trains at all. To a Tesla, trains are just big cars, long, flat cars. Amber Da Silva over at jalopnik.com put the article together, and it says here, video from inside a Tesla Model Y surfaced online this week, seemingly initially on the Fediverse from a user named Hulva, before being shared out to Blue Sky and Reddit. They can only assume those chain email threads that baby boomers share around their entire address books. The clip shows how the Tesla is interpreting the train crossing ahead of it as just a series of oddly stretched and squished cars led by a semi. There's a video, but I'm air gapped, and so I can't see it. I might be. No, I won't. Anyway, this isn't a one-off issue for Tesla. Videos earlier last year, and back in 2023 all show Tesla cars interpreting trains as a series of pickup trucks, though never quite so stretched out as the car models in this latest clip. Interestingly, only the two latest clips build that misinterpretation of trains as cars into the roadmap itself. It says, look at the intersection on the Tesla computer, and you'll notice it includes a train track as an odd street intersection.
Oh, I mean, what could go wrong here?
Just fake it
That's
till you make it.
interesting, because remember we had that other article in FourWheelTech several shows ago where it talked about certain things that were really impediments. And one was like trolley tracks, I think, and one was like odd intersections and other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Things that aren't just standardized to an extreme. If it takes any type of interpretation, it wets the bed. And you know what happens when Teslas get wet?
They need to be in car wash mode, but you might get locked in.
That's true. Dear Lord, help you if you. I shouldn't even say it like that. Anyway, help yourself if you put your car in car wash mode and then do a software update. You may never get out of that car.
That's right.
So anyway, they're flat, broad objects ahead of them and not cars. So yeah, LiDAR. I just don't think it's ready for prime time. I don't think that smart cars are ready for prime time. They should still be test vehicles used by engineers to learn how to do all of this, but they're being sold, and I think it's at people's detriment. The whole system is broken in that there are massive batteries in there that will fail over time. People don't really take that into account, and it really should be fast swap and recovery battery systems, which were tested before the Tesla infrastructure went the supercharger route. And I just don't understand why. Probably because he didn't want to share with the other kids. Anyway, so. All right. I'm
not
outie.
sure how to respond to that.
Yeah. Wait. I can. Overshare. Oh, and spoiler alert. Anyway, so we are going to jump back into the Fediverse and Blue Sky and Reddit, and that's going to bring us back to the front page of ohmTown and FourWheelTech's channel at ohmtown.com. I'm going to say thanks for hanging out. If you're in chat or if you're going to watch the VOD later, leave a comment over on YouTube, like, subscribe, ring the bell, follow us over on Twitch as well so that you're informed when we go live. There's normally no lag. We hit broadcast and we start talking about whatever the news is. And on the weekends, we do it for about an hour and a half, barring any mayoral duties preventing me from doing a Friday show or something like that. But then on Monday through Friday, we do Non Sequitur news for an hour plus, typically an hour. But anyway, I'm Merwat. I'm saying bye and taking the sentient AI with me.
Bye-bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for this week's FourWheelTech. We'll have another episode next weekend, but stay tuned tomorrow for our regular weekday edition of Non Sequitur News.
See y'all soon. It did not restart. Bye-bye YouTube. Bye-bye Twitch.